and welcome back to another episode of There's Danger Here. I'm Leilani.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're finally getting out of the 40s. We're moving all the way to 1959.
Oh, wow.
Moving on up.
We're teenagers now.
I know, right? All right, here we go. Joel Rifkin was born on January 20th, 1959 in New York. He was immediately put up for adoption and swiftly adopted by Benjamin and Jean Rifkin. A sibling came into the family, also by way of adoption, 3 years later, giving Joel a younger sister, Jan. The family lived in East Meadow, Long Island, New York. And looking at everything, you know the area.
I know the area, yeah. I'm familiar with East Meadow.
Yeah. So everything I looked up shows that there's no evidence of the family being abusive. So by all accounts, his family was very caring, very loving. At first, though, he didn't know he was adopted. He didn't know until I think he was a teenager.
Oh, God.
Still, Joel was a shy and awkward boy who liked to collect rocks and as a result was bullied by his peers, which, okay, don't we all like rocks at some point?
I'm like
all kids carry rocks in their pocket.
It's actually like a flex now with like cool kids.
Yeah.
You're like, look at this cool rock I found.
Yeah.
And you have like your collection and you cleanse them in the moon on a full moon. And
my youngest has everything amethyst. That's like his go-to rock. And we'll be walking and he'll see like a store and it's got amethyst. And he's like, excuse me, I don't have that tower. I'm like, how do you even know what a tower is, Bubba? Like, okay. And all things rocks. And he shows his classmates. I'm like, how are you getting bullied by your peers? How far did this go?
I mean, I guess New York gets a little different over there.
In 1959, 1960s. So
yeah, he needed to get past the era of the 70s. I think that's when maybe like the crystals and the rocks became like a cool thing, probably.
I have no idea when their popularity hit. I just know.
I'm going to guess it was when those hippies hit.
It's a good guess. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to go with from now on. He also walked with slumped over posture and a slow gait, so his classmates called him Joel the Turtle. I mean, school kids are mean.
Yeah, they are.
His books were stolen along with his lunch often, and he would get pantsed. In 1970, at 11, his parents informed him that he was adopted. So that was the age that he learned. I'm sure that they, that's got to be a complicated. Do we tell you right away? Do we just want to be like, no, we're this loving family? You know that it's, and I don't know. I couldn't look up if it was like closed or open adoption. So that might play a part. Like if it was closed and they're like, well, we can't find your parents. So it's hard to tell you. Like, it's not like they wanted to be there and we want to be here.
I don't think there's a right answer to that. It's whatever feels right for a family.
Oh, I would never know. So I can't, I just can't imagine how difficult it would be to decide either way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, props to them for doing it.
11 seems like I don't know. Again, I guess there's who knows?
Yeah.
Like, I was going to say 11 seems like a weird age to like introduce that concept to a kid. Like they're not quite old enough to really grasp reality, but then they're still old enough to like have emotions really towards it.
Yeah. And I also couldn't find out if it was the result of something like maybe he was like, you guys don't look anything like me, or, what's going on? Why am I different? Why did Jan and I not look the same? Like, I couldn't find or if there was a reason or if they had just decided like at this point, if this happens, we're going to tell him. So I don't know why.
Or they were like mad at him one day.
Oh, I hope not.
I know.
That would be terrible. Don't say that.
Well,
listen, all of the sources seem like those parents were amazing, so I wouldn't think it would be that.
I know, but I'm going to say, I imagine he turns into a pretty crappy dude.
He does.
So
otherwise we probably wouldn't talk about him.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it was because his parents one day said, God damn it, if you weren't adopted, this wouldn't be a problem or whatever. Or like, you're not even my kid anyway. Yeah. And then it broke him.
I don't like that. I'm going to go with, I've decided that he questioned why he didn't look like anything like them. And they're like, well, let's have a conversation about it. And they were super caring about it. And he's still a jerk because he's just him.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm choosing.
All right. That's fair.
So, as he progressed in school, the bullying didn't ease. His choice of clothing made matters worse. He wore high pants, long slacks, and glasses. Like,
Oh,
I
no.
picture the typical nerd that we used to see on sitcoms. Like, and
Yeah.
that's what Urkel. Urkel is what I picture.
Yes.
Like that
Like,
outfit.
the name Turtle seems like
Yeah.
it's really fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 1972, Joel watched Frenzy, an Alfred Hitchcock film, and from that time on, reportedly, he had a fascination with sex workers,
Mm.
particularly aroused by the idea of strangling them.
Oh, no.
I know. And I mean, he's so young. At the same time, his parents gave him a car, which he immediately used to learn how to troll for women.
Mm.
Of course. Back in school, he didn't find his niche either, though he did try. So this time he attempted to participate in track and the yearbook club,
Oh,
both of which were not fruitful endeavors. Though the yearbook club started to pique his interest in photography, classmates stole his camera. Still, he did manage to graduate in 1977.
God.
I know.
Usually you just find like your
He finds something.
little crowd or something like that, like the other weirdo in the yearbook group that weirdo, listen to me, I'm the school bully.
I know you are. Do you know? It was an actual class when I was in high school, and I took the yearbook class because I think it counted as English.
I did yearbook. It wasn't a class though, I don't think.
Oh, mine was. I wouldn't have done it without the credits.
No, so we were able to like skip class to do it.
Uh,
Like it was our English teacher who was responsible for the yearbook,
mhm.
and we were able to like she would like pull us out. It was like the cool kids who did yearbook because you would get pulled out during your other classes, whatever it be, like math or
Oh, weird.
and she would let you like come into her office and then you just like
Hang
video
out.
edit and find pictures and
No, ours was at my school, it was a class. And so, because you had to have like 4 years of English or something like that to graduate. So I didn't have to take, I was like, how did I not graduate early? I had all of the classes that I needed to have by the time I think I was either the middle of my sophomore year or beginning of my junior year. Like, I was done with all the classes I had to take. My senior year, I bullshitted. I took like so many just dumb classes that
yeah,
I was like, why didn't I do college early? Because that was an option for the school. Like, if you had good grades, I'm like, why did I do that? That's dumb.
yeah,
But yeah, no, ours was an actual class, and I definitely took it, so I didn't have to deal with regular English class.
yeah. I don't remember if I got credit or not, but I definitely did it
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
like I said, it was like all the athletes who did it. We got
yeah.
to like write the narrative of how the year went.
Ours was a mix, I
Yeah,
think. It was a healthy mix. All right, so he went to, I don't know how to say this correctly. Apologize. Nassau, maybe?
Nassau.
That you knew it.
Yeah,
Community college in Long Island. I knew you would know. I don't
yeah,
know why I didn't
or
just ask you
NASA.
first.
Like, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Completing a single course in a year. Like, that
Okay,
was it. That's all he got through.
way to go, buddy.
hmm From there, he transferred to sunny Brockport, the State University of New York at Brockport. Though his academics didn't get much better and he dropped out by 1980.
Hmm.
He was not all about school at the time. He returned to both his parents and the community college, but he didn't fare much better than his previous stints, dropping out altogether in 1984 again. During much of this time, he missed classes, and that was because he was picking up sex workers rather than attending class.
Oh no.
So that's where he was at. He entered the workforce, but based on his inability to complete classes, it should come as no surprise that he was not very good at work either. He moved from job to job, never lasting long. Not only did he miss work often, but many sources say that his hygiene was lacking,
Mm,
which, ew.
yeah,
So I am like a super, like halitosis hits me. I cannot stand people with bad breath. It's a thing, and I will like walk away. I'm like, oh no, which is weird because of the profession we work in. In the
yeah.
morning, there's so many patients where I'm like, do you want to brush your teeth? Like, let's go brush your teeth.
I'm like convinced that I have halitosis because every night that I go to bed with my daughter,
hmm
she's always like, does not, she's lately told me to turn the other direction
Yeah.
because my breath is so bad, she says. So I'll like use mouthwash lately before bed, and she still is like, no. I think she doesn't like the smell of mint, I'm realizing.
Yeah, either that or she doesn't like the feel of the breath on
That
her.
could
Because
be it
like, my
too.
youngest will lay, like, on me, and if he breathes, like, on my face, I'm like, "Stop it.
Yeah, she will
Stop
like
it
put
right
her
now."
hand on her
It's
face and things
probably
like
the
that.
sensation.
Yeah,
No, if you did, I would tell you
I
because
know. That's
we practically live
I
together.
know. I was
It
sort
was
of actually relieved when you said that's like a doesn't
mhm,
work for you. Like, okay, maybe it's
yeah.
not my mouth then.
Yeah, no, after, COVID, not to get too far off, but after having COVID, like, way back when COVID first started, um, and then I lost my sense of smell, and then when it came back, that's when, like, I'm super sensitive to
Mm,
people's breath, and I'm like,
yeah.
"It's so much worse than before." I'm like, Why?"
Do you have all of your sense of smell back?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's, like, heightened
Heightened.
now, and now people will be talking, and I have to literally step back.
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, no,
Yeah.
no." It also does not help being when I was in the dating game because so many guys I'd be like, "Ew."
Oh, that's like an instant turn. Like,
Yeah.
no,
But it would be like even like coffee breath, I'd be like, "Get the fuck away from me. I can't even talk to you right
I
now."
definitely have coffee breath.
It's not that bad right now, I promise.
I definitely do.
Um, all right. So in February of 1987, his father, who had been suffering from prostate cancer and emphysema, overdosed on his barbiturates. It sounds like it was intentional, not
Mm,
accidental. I think he was just in a lot of pain and couldn't take it anymore. And sad part of his life. I heard that.
sorry.
That's okay. On August 22nd, 1987, Joel was out again looking for a sex worker. This time, however, he found an undercover officer,
Oh, no.
for which he was arrested and given a whole fine. That's all that happened.
I mean, it was probably pretty prevalent back then.
Yeah, this seemed to push Joel into becoming a responsible man. In 1988, he went back to the State College of Technology in New York for horticulture. He did well in school and earned an internship at Planting Fields Arboretum in Oyster Bay.
Okay.
However, he still sought sex workers out at night. Only he began to do going to Manhattan to do so. His fascination grew over those who killed sex workers, and he began collecting articles on men such as the Green River Killer out here in the
Hmm.
Pacific Northwest and Arthur Shawcross, which I don't recognize that name, so
I don't
I'm
either.
gonna have to look him
Stay
up
tuned.
sometime. Yeah. By March 1989, Joel created a plan to become part of those that were killers. In the first week of March, while his mother was away on a business trip, he picked up Susie, a sex worker, out of Manhattan's East Village. On the way to his house, they stopped to buy drugs for Susie. They went to his house and had intercourse. Then Joel picked up a souvenir howitzer shell and beat her with it, stopping only when he was too tired to continue the attack.
What's a howitzer
A
shell?
howitzer shell is a tank shell.
Oh,
But it sounds like it was like either hollow or I couldn't see if it was just because it says souvenir, so it's probably just a replica. But usually they're big metal. I mean, they're
I was
big.
gonna say, like, are they like the size of my arm?
Um, they'd be similar, probably this
Yeah, that's
like
sort of
half.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And in no like none of the sources could I find out where his sister was. I'm assuming because she was only 3 years younger, so I bet she moved out and was either in college or had an adult life. But she was not in the home at this time.
Yeah, because he's now 20 in his mid 20s.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Joel then went to move her, and she bit him in the finger.
Ooh.
Realizing she wasn't dead following the blows he inflicted, he then strangled her until she was.
Oh no.
Then,
That's
it's sad, I know. But I'm glad that she bit him. I was like, ha,
yeah.
like, get back.
It's rare that we hear like the actual person who's doing the killing get like a little bit of injuries on them.
I know, but I love it.
I'm sure that they do, and we just don't hear that part of the
Hmm.
story as much, but like when it's notable enough that it's brought up in a story,
Yeah. I
means
think,
that he actually got a little hurt.
I feel like a lot of killers, I mean, they have a lot of bravado about them and they don't want to be like, well, I didn't quite do it quite right,
Right, right.
or I didn't know what I was doing, or, they fought back and they were, you know,
Right.
formidable at all. So,
Yeah.
but he definitely said that she bit him.
Okay.
Then he placed her in a trash bag and cleaned the blood strewn about the living room, because if you can imagine, if we're beating her with
Oh my
something,
God.
there's got to be blood everywhere. And this is his mom's house. Like, let's remember, he's at home with mom. I mean, mom's out of town, but
Oh my God.
he did it in the family home.
Oh, gosh.
hmm After a nap, he brought the trash bag to the basement, so it tuckered him out, and he had to go take a little nappy.
And just left the trash bag in the living room?
hmm
Goodness gracious.
hmm He got out a craft knife and dismembered her. Then he used pliers to remove her teeth
Oh,
and cut off like the tips of her fingers to remove
like
fingerprints.
identity.
hmm He placed Susie's head in a paint can and then the parts of her into various trash
Okay,
bags.
this is like the wildest first murder ever.
hmm The
He's,
fact that he's just like, oh, let me cut her up and pull out their teeth. Something about pulling out the teeth.
it's like just not okay with me.
Yeah, I know you had a visceral reaction.
I
I
know.
saw that.
I know. I
You
was
like sucked your face in.
like, literally, I was just talking to our boss about this, how, like, you could tell me you're going to cut my fingers off and break each bone, starting at my toes, working the way up to my neck. And, like, it doesn't make me feel anything. If you tell me you're going to mess with my teeth, my jaw, like, hurts thinking
Yeah,
about it. Like, there's something about my teeth that freak me out. Like,
yeah.
the idea of, like, taking a plier and snapping it off my jaw.
And yeah. And the amount
No.
of times you have the amount of work that puts in to take away all of the teeth.
No.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I feel like you wouldn't even like that's a lot. Like he probably could have just popped out like every other tooth and it would be fine because it's like dental impressions that are like the fingerprint.
hmm
So like you don't need to do all of them.
Well, apparently he wanted to because
He
he did.
yeah.
Uh, When she was wrapped up, he put her in his mother's car and drove to New Jersey, dumping the legs and the head in Woodland, and then on to Manhattan to dispose the rest of her body, in which he put her into the East River.
There's a lot of bodies in that East River.
I believe that. Her head was discovered on March 5th when a golfer was looking for his ball that had gone into a wooded area off the green.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine that? Which also means that they had to pop off the
The
paint
paint
can.
can lid.
Yeah, which is a weird thing to do.
I mean, probably reeked.
If I don't know, because if it was sealed, I don't know if you would really, if the odor would come out of that. Because a lot of killers it seems like they wrap people up to conceal the smell, and it
Yeah.
seems to work to some. And if it paint can all the way sealed,
Although,
I feel like that'd
was
be
her
hard.
head still in the paint can?
hmm
Because also that was really stupid of him to throw a paint can into the river. Like obviously it's gonna float.
No, the head was put
Oh,
in
he
the
just
woods.
put it in the
The
woods.
body
Okay.
was put in the river.
Okay.
He put her in multiple places.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's pretty disgusting.
It
I
doesn't
don't
get any better.
yeah, the paint can lid thing I guess is a little interesting.
Yeah. After learning on the news that Susie was HIV positive,
Oh shit.
Joel didn't go on the prowl again until late 1990. Once again, his mother went out of town, and Joel finally decided it was time for his next victim, who was Julie Blackbird. After spending a night together, Joel picked up a wooden table leg and proceeded to bludgeon her with it.
A wooden table leg?
hmm
What?
hmm
Okay, this guy has some weird weapons.
I know. Yeah. And it's so funny because in everything, it just says wooden table leg. I'm like, did he pull it off of a
Right.
table to do it? Was something dismantled? Was he doing something with it? Like, what is happening? Then again, when he was tired, he strangled her to death. With her body cooling, Joel went out and bought a mortar pan and cement.
Oh.
He then brought Julie to the basement again and dismembered her. He placed her head, legs, and arms in a bucket, then her torso in a milk crate, and he filled both with cement. Driving again to the East River, where he threw the head and torso in. The rest of her was thrown into a barge canal in Brooklyn. She was never recovered.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's smarter that way to dispose of a body than like
But it's frustrating. Be dumb.
yeah.
Let us find the bodies, please.
Yeah, it is dumb. But It's
Smart. I
yeah,
know. Ugh.
yeah.
On July 13th, 1991, he picked up Barbara Jacobs. Joel reports that after having sex, she fell asleep, so he picked up the table leg again, the same one as before, and struck Barbara, then strangled her. This time, he wrapped her body up in plastic and put her in a large cardboard box, taking off to the Hudson River where he dumped the box in. Hours later, Barbara was found by a group of firefighters that happened to be training in the area
Oh,
because she floated. On
that's
Sep-
quite the training.
yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
You're just training and you're like, what is this? Oh no,
Like,
that's a
here.
whole human being that
Yep.
you just found. That's gotta mess with the night.
Oh, it definitely would. You get to do your like first aid training right
Yeah,
there on the spot.
yeah. On September 1st, 1991, Joel picked up Mary Ellen DeLuca, who was only a sex worker to feed her drug habit. She was 22 when she met
Oh,
Joel. Joel bought drugs for Mary before heading to a motel. During intercourse, Mary complained, and Joel said that it annoyed him, so he strangled her. He then went out and bought a steamer trunk in order to conceal Mary's body. And once she was in the trunk, he drove to Orange County, pulled into a rest stop just outside of Cornwall, and dumped the trunk. The body wasn't discovered until October 1st.
oh,
So at this point, she had been decomposing for a month. So cause of death and identification were practically impossible at this point.
uh,
hmm
a steamer trunk.
Yeah, like a big, and it sounds like after that, he's like, oh, that was kind of nice. And so that it becomes part of like his MO as he puts them in these trunks more often than not. And he also says at one point that he got sick of dismembering them because it took up so much time. So you'll hear how he kind of switched from he dismembered the first two to then just wrapping one up because he was like, oh, this is exhausting. I'm like, well, maybe just don't kill them and
Where
then
is
you don't
he
have to do
getting
it.
all of these trunks from?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
That's
I
crazy.
know.
He's really wild.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, most of these guys
I
are that we
know
talk about.
this one just seems like so sporadic though. Like he's just like coming up with it all on the fly.
I feel like
And
he is. He
yeah.
just, I don't know. Later that same day, Joel met up with 31-year-old Yoon Lee, and he was unable to perform, so he beat and strangled her. He got another steamer trunk and placed her in it, once again heading to the East River and dumping her. She was discovered on September 23rd, and she was the first not to be a Jane Doe, as her husband was able to
Oh,
identify her.
crap.
Yeah. They're people too,
Yeah.
okay? Like,
Yep. He's really like all over the place with these bodies too.
mhm. I think he's intentionally not putting them in the same place because, like the Green River Killer, he had a dump site, and part of how he got caught is because he was, there.
Uh-huh.
And so I think he's like, well, if they're all over the place, maybe either they won't be connected or be harder for me to get caught for all of them or
Right.
something. Like, I
Right.
don't know if that's the reason, but that feels a lot like because he's trying to get them away from where he lives and dump them kind of further away.
Yeah. It's like from Orange County to the East River to the Hudson River. I mean, East River and the Hudson River wouldn't be that big of a trek to make it, but it's still like you would need to know these locations, like
Well, he lives in the area.
right. But like to dump a body in the Hudson River, you're doing that likely from Manhattan unless you drive up north.
Well, he's in Manhattan a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Just seems like there'd be a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. How did he not get
Yeah.
spotted? I get that. In December of 1991, Joel picked up a sex worker in Manhattan again. During oral sex, he strangled and killed her. He kept her in the passenger seat and drove to a recycling plant that he was previously employed. There, he retrieved a 55-gallon oil drum and placed her in it. Then he took the drum and went to the junkyard in South Bronx and rolled the drum into the river. As he was leaving, police pulled up and stopped Joel. They questioned him about dumping trash illegally, and Joel managed to talk his way into having them believe that he was gathering trash, not dumping it. He literally had a body like 5 minutes before this.
I know.
They
And
were
like
5 minutes too late.
where is the trash that he'd gather.
I know.
Like,
I wonder if he had another barrel or something, and he's like, "See, I had this, and I'm gonna get trash. I'm not dumping it.
because that's what people do in the middle of the night in South Bronx is go collect
Collect trash."
oil drums that are floating in the river.
Yeah,
That's so
I
crazy.
don't know. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Maybe they were just like, "We don't actually want to deal with this.
Oh
Just
my
go
God.
away."
Oh my God.
On December 26, 1991, Joel met with Lorraine Orvieto, a 28-year-old who also used her sex work to feed her drug habit. The two met in Bayshore, heading to a school nearby, and once again, during oral sex, he strangled her to death. After he drove to his current landscaping work site, he got another oil drum and placed her in it. Then he went to Brooklyn and threw the drum into the Coney Island Creek. A fisherman found Lorraine on July 11th, 1992.
Hmm. A creek.
Hmm.
Probably not big enough for an oil drum with a body in it.
Yeah. Still, it took a long time to be found, but
Yeah.
On January 2nd, 1992, 39-year-old Mary Ann Holloman, another sex worker who used the sex work to feed her drug habit, Joel met with her and drove to the same school parking lot he'd gone to before. Once again, he strangled her during oral sex, placed her in a drum, and dropped her off at the Coney Island Creek.
School parking lot.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Gross.
It's gross. It almost feels a little bit like his revenge on being bullied, too.
Potentially. I have no idea.
Like, why else would you go to a school parking lot?
Maybe because it's an open area that's quiet if it's at night because nobody would be there.
I guess, yeah. I
I
like
saw that face. You're like, "Ah, right."
I I
Don't.
always have to like bring my brain back to like there's not CCTV everywhere now or
Mhm.
like during this
Then,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
how did
now
you not get seen? Yeah.
a school parking lot is gonna have some cameras in it.
Mhm. Not back then.
Yeah.
She was found on July 9th, 1992, and dental records confirmed her identity.
He left the teeth.
I told you he stopped dismembering them because he said it was too much work.
I know.
Sometime in February, Joel met another sex worker in Manhattan. Again, he strangled her, though he says that she fought hard. But still, he couldn't recall her name. She was placed in an oil drum and thrown into Newtown Creek in Brooklyn. Newtown. She was discovered on May 13th, 1992. She was thought to have been a drug mule by police officers due to the amount of cocaine still in her system found during her toxicology
Oh,
report. So that's what they attributed this death,
but he dumped her body
in an oil drum.
and then they attributed her
Yep,
death to
they sure did.
a cocaine overdose.
So the thought is that she was a drug mule
Oh, and
and
she like,
overdosed, so they put her in the drum, like,
oh, okay.
you know, so not necessarily to like a potential victim of some sort
Right.
of violence, but because of the drugs in
Right.
her system. In April 1992, Joel skipped work and found 25-year-old Iris Sanchez. The two drove to a housing project in Manhattan. Once again, he strangled her during sex. She was then dumped off Rockaway Boulevard under an old mattress at an illegal dump site.
Mm.
On May 25th, 1992, Joel found Anna Lopez on Atlantic Avenue in Queens. She agreed to go to his vehicle for a sex act, at which point he again strangled her. After he drove her body to Brewster, Putnam County, where he dumped her beside the I-84 freeway. She was found on May 26 by a passing motorist who happened to stop to pee.
That's like not close.
No.
He
No.
like that's a hour north.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's a long time with a body.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah. It definitely is.
Like, he's very comfortable at this point. And
Yeah.
he's just like, oh, it's whatever. Like, and one of the previous victims, he left in the passenger seat and drove with her. Like, okay.
That's
Ballsy.
yeah, it's ballsy.
Yeah. Next, Joel met up with 21-year-old Violet O'Neill, and he brought her back to his home. After having sex, he again strangled her, then drug her into the bathroom, and he decided to dismember her in the tub. He used plastic wrap to cover the pieces and put them into a suitcase, then threw her into the Hudson River.
Mom must not have been home at that
I
time.
don't think so. I don't think so. I think he waited until another weekend where she was out doing
Right. It
something.
seems like that. And it seems like when he's taking them out of his house, that's when he's dismembering them.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's in public, it's like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Would you bring him back?
Mm,
And I'm sure mom's
no.
home, so
Right. You wouldn't.
yeah,
You would just get rid of them.
it's horrible.
It is.
On October 2nd, 1992, he met Mary Catherine Williams. Can I also, really quick, offshoot? I know that was very weird of me. He remembers these names. He's the one giving these names. How
Oh,
do you
yeah.
remember? Like, I don't know if he knows all of their full names, but they get like their identity back because he remembers them. This is a lot of people to remember.
It is a lot of people to remember.
That is insane. The one we don't get because he doesn't remember her name. He just remembers she fought.
Did he keep anything of theirs or?
Um, I don't recall him keeping their things, but we'll get to it in a minute.
They probably didn't have a lot of things either.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he was keeping their IDs. Like,
Yeah. He
I don't
might
know.
have. I can't remember. I've worked on quite a few of these
Right.
leading up to today because we do batch recording. And so I can't remember if he's the one that keeps like their IDs and stuff. But we'll get to it at the bottom if he does.
Okay.
I promise.
All right.
It's hard when I do multiple things
I
at one
know.
time. All right, back to this. Sorry. Joel actually knew Mary. The two had dated a couple times, but that was before she developed a drug habit. So she trusted him. She
That
wasn't,
sucks.
yeah, she wasn't worried when she was propositioned by him, and she even fell asleep in his car.
She felt safe. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that sucks too. Like, come on, man. This was a girl who gave you a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Turtle. What are you
Yeah,
doing, Turtle?
I know. While she was asleep, he stopped the car, leaned over, and strangled her.
Mm-hmm.
Then drove to Yorktown, Westchester, and dumped her. Mary was found on December 21st. Next, he met 23-year-old Jenny Soto on November 16th near Williamsburg Bridge in Lower Manhattan. They had sex and then again he strangled her, and she again fought him, so much so that one of her fingernails broke, like during the fight. But she was dumped in the Harlem River near the spot where Yun Lee was dumped.
Mm.
As Jenny left marks all over his face, he was forced to wait to prowl again until his wounds healed. So
Way
he
to
says,
go, Jenny.
yeah. So he says that she like fucked up his face pretty good, and I was like, yes, good. See,
There's there's some scrappy girls in this tale.
I appreciate them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fighting for their life, literally. So
Yeah.
I would be too.
And they're like New Yorkers who work on the street, so they're just badasses in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a different type of human.
Yeah. As 1993 rolled in, he was at it again. He met 28-year-old Lee Evans on February 27th in Brooklyn. They moved to an abandoned parking lot, and there he strangled her and drove to a wooded area in Long Island and buried her in a shallow grave. Lee was found on May 9th by a pair of hikers because one of her hands was sticking up out of the ground.
Too shallow.
Yeah, too shallow, which is good. I like that.
Right.
On April 2nd, 1993, he found Lauren Marquez working on 2nd Avenue. They drove to a secluded area near the Manhattan Bridge, and he started strangling her, but a man walking a dog forced him to stop for a moment. Lauren fought and attempted to get out of the truck, but Joel managed to break her neck, killing her.
Oh, God.
Yeah. She was then dumped in Suffolk County.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Giuliani's
so close.
Giuliani's about to come and clean the streets up. So his people are about to be gone from New York.
Yeah. Oh. Then he met Tiffany Bresciani on June 24th, 1993. They drove to the parking lot of the New York Post where he strangled her in the backseat of his mother's car. He wasn't even in his car. He was in his mother's. Something about that is very despicable.
Oh, yeah. It's whenever there's a innocent person involved, like either it's the unknowing wife or the unknowing parents, like the fact that it's like his mom who adopted him, and she's
Yes.
still letting this 20, almost actually 30-year-old now at this point,
Mhm.
live in her house, and he's, like, taking advantage of her that way is just crazy to me.
Yeah. I know. It's horrible, but he's horrible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you really expect from somebody like
Right.
that?
He's not gonna have a moral ground on, like,
Yeah.
"This is my mom's car."
Yeah. He left her where he killed her and drove to a store to get rope and tarp. He then went to another secluded area where he wrapped her in the tarp and tied the rope around it, placing her in the trunk. And then he returned home.
Ugh.
As soon as he went home,
His mom needed the car.
his mother took the keys and left to go shopping
Oh my god.
with a body in the trunk.
Oh my god. This is like the crescendo of the movie when they're
Yeah.
making a movie about this.
hmm hmm
Like you better hope your mom's only getting a gallon of milk and a
Puts it in the
carton of
back seat.
eggs and just puts it next to her in the passenger seat or in the back seat. Like you better hope she's not about to spend her paycheck and have to open that trunk.
Uh-huh. hmm When she got home, she had not opened the trunk.
Oh
And
my,
so he moved Tiffany into the garage and placed her body in a wheelbarrow. There she remained for 3 days
what?
in the family home for 3 days.
She would, like, that would smell.
hmm Then on June 28th, he decided he needed to dump her because she smelled too bad. And so
Yeah.
he put her in his truck. That evening, he drove towards Melville's Republic Airport when a state trooper pulled him over.
Oh my God. This is like, what's this lady's name again? Do you remember?
The one that he's got right now,
Yeah,
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
At approximately 3:15 a.m., troopers Deborah Spargerin and Sean Ruin attempted to stop a 1984 tan Mazda B2000 pickup with a black cap on the Southern State Parkway upon realizing Joel had no license plate on the back of his truck.
Oh my God.
Joel didn't hit the brakes. Instead, he kept driving.
Well, that was dumb.
Eventually, however, he crashed his truck into a utility pole
Oh,
in, is it Mineola? Mineola, New York?
uh-huh.
Joel was placed in handcuffs when the state trooper noticed an odor coming from the bed of his truck.
Oh my God. I don't know. It almost feels like he wanted to get caught on this one.
Yeah. Excuse me, sorry. He moved part of the blue tarp and realized that it contained Tiffany.
A body that's now 4 days old.
hmm Joel immediately admitted that she was a sex worker and he killed her.
Oh my God.
Like there was no, I don't know why that's there. Like I parked on the street. This just showed up.
I
I don't
mean,
know. Nothing.
honestly, I think it'd be like a really impressive lie that you could tell that would make anyone sort of be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to
I,
explain
I
a
stole the truck. It's
decomposing
not even
body.
mine.
There you go. That probably would have been the best way to go about it.
Joel was taken to the Troop L barracks for further questioning. There, he immediately opened up, and in 8 hours, he confessed to 17 murders.
Holy hell.
Many of the women had not been identified, and a few hadn't even been found until his confession. Meanwhile, his vehicle and home were searched. During the searches, many items that were taken as souvenirs were found that positively linked him to the crimes and also helped identify a few of the women. Ha! So he did.
Mm,
One of
mhm,
the items he seemed to prefer to keep were their IDs or
mm.
driver's license.
So he had their names memorized at that. Like he probably
Yeah,
looked at them.
I'm sure. Yeah. They also found prescription medications in some of the women's names, underwear, and jewelry. They found books about serial killers, and in the garage, 3 ounces of blood was found in the wheelbarrow. A chainsaw blade still had blood and human flesh on it.
oh God.
Joel's mother contacted an attorney, Robert Sale. Robert met his client on June 29th, a half an hour before his first court appearance. There, Joel entered a plea of not guilty to Judge John Kingston. A formal arraignment was postponed for 2 weeks, and Joel was sent to Nassau County Correctional Facility to await trial. There, Joel fired Robert and hired his own lawyer, John Lawrence, as well as Michael Soshnick. I'm really bad with names.
That sounds right.
I hope that's right.
Yeah, that works.
In November 1993, the suppression hearing took place. Immediately, the confession came into question. However, it was denied because he just opened up.
Right.
After a few weeks, the prosecution offered Joel a deal. In exchange for pleading guilty to 17 murders, he was offered 46 years to life. But Joel declined and opted for the insanity defense. The hearing took 4 months, and a trial date was set for April. Joel fired one of his attorneys, Michael Soshnick, though he did retain John Lawrence. Since he was not pleading guilty, prosecution started with a trial for the murder of Tiffany. And I think in the sources, it sounded really weird because the attorney that he fired had more experience with murder trials than the one that he retained. Like, I'm not sure that the one that he retained even had ever been on a murder trial before, but I was like, I wonder if that was just a personality thing or he just really is crazy. Like, why
Or
would you?
he potentially, although he doesn't pin me as a smart guy, but potentially he is smart and he knows that, like, if you get rid of the people who know what they're doing, you might even have another chance to, like, argue that you weren't,
Yeah,
like,
inadequate counsel.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fair, but I doubt he was that
I know.
smart. On April 11th, 1994, the trial began with jury selection. Opening argument started on the 20th. Psychiatrists were involved due to the insanity portion of Joel's not guilty plea, and Barbara Kerwin was a psychologist from Long Island and classified him as pathological. Psychiatrist for the prosecution was Dr. Park Dietz, and he stated that Joel was sick but not insane, and he knew what he was doing during the time of the murders.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially because, I mean, he hid the bodies after.
Right.
It's not like he did attempt to conceal what was going on.
Right.
So usually if you're insane, you just
would leave
them.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't clean yourself up. You don't hide things.
Right.
So on May 9th, the jury was sent for deliberation and they returned within hours with their decision. Joel was guilty of murder and reckless endangerment. The reckless endangerment was for fleeing the police the night that he was arrested. For sentencing, Judge Wexner sentenced Joel to 25 years to life for Tiffany's murder and 7 years for the reckless endangerment from evading police the night of his arrest. After this, he was immediately transferred to Suffolk County to stand trial for the murders of Lauren Marquez and Lee Evans. Joel changed lawyers again to Martin Effman, but kept his insanity plea defense, this time saying he was schizophrenic. He claimed he had what they call adopted child syndrome during the trial, and the prosecution reported that the adoption child syndrome was an antiquated belief that linked violence and adoption, but is not recognized as legitimate per the American Psychological Association.
So that's not going to be a great defense then.
No, but let me tell you a little bit about it because I had to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
Adopted child syndrome or reactive attachment disorder, which I've heard that one before, is the belief that children who are adopted are affected by a sense of loss and abandonment. That in a study by Dr. David Kirschner noted that children exhibited anger, depression, and rejection. Statistics also indicated that these children were 25% more likely to murder their parents and encompassed up to 16% of serial killers. However, this study was based on those who were in unstable environments, not those who have been in one home their entire life. Follow-up studies did lend some credence to this, proving that there's a higher prevalence of mental health disorders in those in unstable environments. Children that are moved around many times. In 2012, a study was conducted on 1,232 children, 692 of which were adopted, and during the study, 56 children attempted suicide. 47 of them were adopted. So they are saying that unstable environment, yes, there is higher prevalence of mental health, but I mean, that is more likely due to the environment, not because they're adopted
Right.
or foster children or something like that, and that there was no link to those who have been in one home their entire life.
Right. Which
So,
makes sense.
mhm,
And then also, like, there's so many factors involved as
mhm,
well. Like, not every kid that's adopted is under these circumstances, but like there could have been drug use during like utero and like, there's all of these potential outside factors that adopted children might potentially have more of a risk of than
mhm. Yeah.
opposite. So it's
But they're saying that, yes, there is some prevalence of it, but it's not
it's
for
more
children like Joel. It's
right,
not for those that are in stable
right.
environments that are,
Had
you
a
know.
mom and dad who loved him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right, back to the trial.
interesting.
Mhm.
That makes total sense to me, but
Yeah.
still interesting.
Mhm. The judge allowed further neurological testing and set a jury selection date of September 19th, with a trial to follow in October. In early September, Joel changed his plea to that of guilty to the murders of Lauren and Leah. Judge Jones accepted the plea and sentenced Joel to 25 years to life for each woman killed.
So now he's already at like 70 years.
75 to
Yeah.
life, yeah. The next and last trial was for Iris Sanchez and occurred 2 years after his first trial. At this trial, he apologized for his killings. In response, Carol DeLeon, the sister of Iris, stated, quote, Iris was far from being perfect or an angel, but I will say that she did not have to die the way she did, strangled by the hands of Joel Rifkin, then dumped like garbage. Iris Sanchez will rest in peace in our hearts as of today. But you, Joel Rifkin, will rot in hell. End quote. Sorry, apparently I can't say rot today. The presiding judge, Robert Joseph Hannafy, said it was unfortunate he was not able to sentence Joel to death because Iris was murdered prior to the capital punishment law having been reenacted. And we had talked about that in a previous episode where, capital murder, the death sentence was taken off and then reinstated. And so during the time that he killed Iris, there was no death penalty. So you can't sentence somebody to death if when the murder occurs it was not allowed, which is stupid.
It is stupid, but I guess I could understand the rationale maybe behind it. Not that he would go, like, it would be another trial. Like,
Yeah.
because you could almost argue if you would have known that death was on the table, would you have committed these acts?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, if you claim, like, no, I would have never killed someone if I knew that I could have been killed, then I don't know.
That's terrible.
It's
I don't
stupid.
like
It's
it.
really dumb.
I
But
mean, I get it, but I don't
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
It makes sense in the justice system.
Not for him.
Yeah.
Like, clearly, it wouldn't have mattered.
No. In total, Joel received 203 years in prison for 9 of the 17 murders he committed. As a result of his confession, his first murder of Susie was eventually positively identified as Heidi Bulk. Now let's talk about prison. I've said it before that I thought serial killers would have some sort of clout in prison. As it turns out, if you're a big male and your victims are women and or children, you do not earn respect. So Joel had some issues in prison.
I'm sure.
Yay!
Yeah.
In early 1994, he fought with Colin Ferguson, another mass murderer. Some reports say it was over who was a better killer, while others say it started when Colin made a phone call and Joel wouldn't shut the fuck up. Respect is a big thing. Colin told him, quote, I wiped out 6 devils and you only killed women, end quote.
Oh, God. I was wondering who Colin was killing.
Yeah. I didn't actually look up Colin yet because I'm sure I will look him up in the future and we'll do an episode on it.
Yeah.
But I think it was men.
Yeah.
After Joel responded that he had more victims, Colin proceeded to beat him. In 1996, Joel was transferred to Attica State Prison on Rikers Island. He didn't have much luck there either and ended up doing 4 years in solitary confinement for his own safety. While in prison, the family of Lorraine Orvieto filed a wrongful death lawsuit. In response, Joel wrote a brief in which he stated that she had AIDS or was an AIDS carrier and may have been, quote, responsible for the eventual deaths of numerous individuals, end quote.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I know. In November 1997, Joel attempted to sue the New York Daily News and prison officials, claiming they incorrectly stated he was HIV positive. That due to that, he was assaulted on multiple occasions that resulted in his solitary confinement. In 2000, another lawsuit came out stating the prison was then violating his rights by keeping him in solitary. Again, this solitary is for his
For
safety.
his safety.
The court found in favor of the prison that they had reasonable and appropriate grounds to keep him there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're keeping you from being murdered, guy.
Yeah. Sorry that these are the circumstances, but you put yourself into them. So,
yeah. In 2002, New York's Supreme Court rejected Rifkin's appeal of his convictions for the murder of 9 women.
He tried to appeal it?
Yeah. Everybody tries to appeal.
I know. It's so stupid.
As of today, 65-year-old Joel continues to be housed in Clinton Correctional Facility. He is eligible for parole in the year 2197, and he would be 238 years old.
I can't wait to see that day.
Can't wait.
Oh my.
Good luck, buddy.
Oh my God.
The only thing I couldn't find is if he's still in solitary, but my guess is they moved him around enough that he's not.
He's probably old enough now that, I don't know, I feel like you live in infamy of the crimes that brought you there. So I was going to say he's probably old enough, like, people don't know. Or
the younger generation might not know as much.
But they would, I'm sure you would
hear
know.
about it,
You'd
yeah.
hear. And then if you're mad one day, you're like, let's fuck up that guy.
Yeah, let's get him. Yeah. So I mean, he's been moved around clearly because he's in a different facility now. So I'm sure they moved him to an area that lets people like him walk around.
Probably.
So, all right. Well, that's it.
Can I say real fast?
Yes, of course.
I'm really bummed he didn't get HIV from that first person that he killed.
I am too.
I was like so hoping that would end with and then he died of AIDS.
Yeah.
Like a year ago.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Because that would have been like the most poetic ending to this man.
Yeah. And we don't know if he does have it. I mean, he could.
Yeah, he might.
They have a lot of meds that prolong people's lives.
That's true.
So I don't know. That I don't know. But that is the end of Joel Rifkin. And he did get the nickname, just so you know, Joel the Ripper.
That's not as good as other ones, so but it's still.
I know. Everybody gets a nickname.
Still too cool.
I know. All right. Well,
it should have been Turtle.
Joel the Turtle. Just stick with that.
Joel the Turtle.
That's what we'll call it.
Yeah.
Joel the Turtle. That's what he gets.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To all those out there listening, be careful. It's a dangerous world we live in.